Hi, this is Paul. I'm recording this on Friday. I didn't do a Bridges of Meaning question and answer this week. Next week, I am probably going to do a Bridges of Meaning estuary type thing. I put a comment about that in the place where I usually take the question and answer. I am continuing to think about just different ways of provoking better conversation. You know, this has always been a space of exploration for me, and of course I launched the word Metagelical. Christian Baxter called it Meta-Evangelical or Meta-Evangelical, and there's been a lot of questions about this. And this morning so I didn't live stream this morning, but Luke did, and Lance showed up, and that was I was super happy to see Lance. Hadn't seen him for a while. That's sort of the way it goes in this space, and that's one way in which this space is sort of different from a church, in that if someone doesn't show up for church for a few weeks, you're kind of like, oh, where are they? With California, it might be a few extra weeks, but we also know that people sort of churn in and out of this space, and then something will happen, and a regular like Lance, who's very regular, and then something happens in his life. It sounded like his wife was ill for a little while, so he had some other things to do. So hey, you put YouTube on hold, deal with what you have to deal with. Those are greater priorities, and then when you got a little bit extra space again, come back. And so it was great to see. It was great to see Lance, and then he opened with this, and I'll just start it here.
Well, I need to get back to work. Now you guys have created a new term called Metagegical. What is it? Meta-Evangelical or something new?
It's impossible to say, isn't it?
Metagelical.
I need to figure out.
Metagelical.
So what is, Paul? We're just if you could describe what that. I'm gonna have to go watch the videos on it. What are you circling around with that?
You, my friend Lance, are very metagelical.
Okay.
You are, because you have not, some of you is still very evangelical. Some of you is Orthodox. So evangelicalism was, for the most part, within a Protestant container. That container is going away. Look at the recent conversation between Shawn McDow and Ross Douthat. You know, so many of these things, I mean, you moved into Orthodoxy, and you're loyally Orthodox, but you're not anti-Protestant. You understand Protestantism. You have critiques of Protestantism, but you also are bringing some of the things of Protestantism now into your Orthodoxy. And evangelicalism was always sort of a weird religious marketplace within which Protestants could sort of lay down some of their confessional battles and work productively together without necessarily still being for or against infant baptism or for or against divine election. And so that became a very important missional marketplace for evangelicals. Now, the Catholics and the Orthodox are participating in that in the West as well. You know, when Paul Kingsnorth goes on First Things and sounds like an Anabaptist, it's like, something is happening. And
but here's PVK. Here's the thing, though, with Orthodoxy. When you are the roots and the trunk of the tree, all of the branches are present in the tree.
Isn't that exactly what you say about my use of Calvinism?
What do you mean? Well, but it's the church. It's the universal church, so it's going to have all the multiplicity.
Well, there you go. So that's what Metagelical is.
Like, even if you just consider what I'm okay with listening to now, when I first became a Christian, because I left the Catholic tradition, I considered I wouldn't listen to anyone who was Catholic theologically and nod along and go, oh, this is really good. I wouldn't expose myself to any of that kind of stuff. Like that, for instance, Bishop Barron would be enjoyed by Protestants now would have been a weird thing just 10 years ago. It would have been I would have made a very, very firm distinction when I became a Christian, in contrast to being Catholic.
Yeah.
I'd say that those were different things. I would have put Catholicism when I first converted when I first became a Christian, I would have considered Catholicism to be right there with like Islam and Mormonism.
Yep. And this is and it's happening sort of without a lot of attention being paid to it. It's very contra Christian YouTube, which is all about concern trolling and calling out the confessional missteps and guarding borders. And, you know, TLC is very metagelical. And Bishop Barron runs a parachurch. Let's just say it. Word on Fire is not a Catholic order. Word on Fire is a parachurch. You know, so how much different is Word on Fire from the Gospel Coalition? Now, confessionally, there'll be some distinctives, but well, actually, Word on Fire is more sort of centered around Bishop Barron. But what exactly is he a bishop of? Now, he is a Roman Catholic bishop, and the same thing for me.
Well,
and am I a pastor too? You know, so
Barron is an interesting example because people like Kale don't listen to him. So many people who are practicing Catholics already say no thank you to what he's doing.
That's right.
Or the Pope.
Well, and so it was so interesting because Spencer, when he, you know, he sent me his book, and it was just so sweet. He says, for the internet's pastor. And, you know, whereas right from the start I've told people, I'm not your pastor. In a weird way, I mean, Spencer, who hasn't followed the corner all that carefully, you know, for him to write this, it was like, you know, it's flattering, sure, but I also should say, what's going on? And, you know, I really liked Luke and Michael this morning on Luke's live stream, where, you know, Michael basically says, you know, I totally.
I misspoke. Chad and Michael, and I'll get around to that. So sorry, Luke. False attribution to Chad and Michael.
Understand why so many people are like, wow, the corner is so introspective and distortedly so, and blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, the whole metagelical thing is about what's going on. You know, I should be mad as hell that Lance went Orthodox, and I'm not. I should be really afraid of talking and being associated with Jonathan Peugeot or John Vervaeke or Jordan Peterson. And it does cost me, but I'm not. What's going on? And I think it's far larger, obviously, than the corner. I think it is people associated with ecumenism, which is sort of like ecumenism. But if you've seen what was called ecumenism in the National Council of Churches or the World Council of Churches, this is not like that. And so something is happening, and I needed a word for it. And it's like evangelicalism, but I think it is the next development of it, partly because of the particular religious dynamics of America that has continued to sort of flow out into the West. And it's very non-state church. It's very C.S. Lewis hallway. It's quite Vervaeke philosophical Silk Road, but it is a way that we are, you know, again, Chad's comment to me on the bus at Chino.
What are you talking
about? So this guy comes in. I don't know how he found us, and he just jumps into this conversation. He's like, "What are you talking about?" And so I'll leave the link below to Luke's live stream. But I wanted to start with that, and it's been interesting. So what are the signs you're a Christian YouTuber? You have, let's see how many faces of Shawn McDow do we have? Let's see. We've got this one and this one. Does he do fresh? No, there's two are the same. And so whoever's doing his thumbnails, let's see, do we have those two are the same? I did this with Ruslan too. So I'll meet Shawn McDowell and have to confess my sins. And he'll probably say, yeah, some some YouTube surf is making my thumbnails for me, because this is the YouTube formula. Oh, there's the fingers folded, and here's the that one. Ortland is doing the same thing. Let's see. So if you go through and you just, there's slightly different. So he did a little bit of extra posing for his thumbnails, but Shawn McDow seems to be getting a little bit more culture corner adjacent. It was so funny today. I didn't do the live stream, but I've got other work to do, and so I keep an eye on things going on in my little breaks, because you do a little bit of work, then you take a little break. You do a little work, then you take a little break. And Grizz was live streaming, and so I was trolling in the comments there and poking fun and playing along with everyone in the hive mind. And then I had to go and do something else, and I had to go check something else. And, Spencer Clavin. So Algo served me up Spencer Clavin. And Spencer Clavin is on Shawn. Because they're doing the book thing. Because the book thing is a thing on YouTube. They're doing the book thing. And it's the conversation's going nice. I see T-Grog in the live stream, in the comments. It's like, T-Grog, you're supposed to be over in Grim Grizz, Says where's our village atheist when we need him? But maybe T-Grog doesn't go over to Grim Grizz, because, boy, if you're going to troll Grim Grizz, you're not going to be able to bring your standard village atheist trolling methods to Grim Grizz's channel. It's just not going to work. So he's doing his village atheist trolling bot thing over in Shawn McDowell's channel. And Shawn McDowell's channel's grown fast. 305 subscribers. 305,000 subscribers. It wasn't that long ago that it was a lot. I mean, it's grown quite well. But then it strikes me. It's so interesting when I look at the analytics and what's happening in YouTube. And obviously you get a bigger name on. I thought the thumbnail on the Douthit conversation, that got served up to me right away by Algo. And I was super excited to watch. I haven't quite finished the whole thing. It's a great conversation. I'm really excited about Douthit's book. You got sort of a non-chosen movie Jesus on the thumbnail, and a Bible and a church. And so I've used Canva probably to put those thumbnails together. And so it's kind of interesting. Biola is Bible Institute of Los Angeles. That's what Biola stands for. So an evangelical center on the West Coast. California evangelicalism is, don't have to talk about that now. But again, it struck me that there are a few things here that he's been covering. Jordan Peterson. I listened to a bunch of this conversation. He's got this buddy that he often does things with. I don't watch a lot of his channel. Melissa Dougherty, we kind of know her Christian YouTube shtick that she does. And again, we got sort of a Jesus movie Jesus in that thumbnail. But I just wanted to start where the Douthit McDowell thing began, because it was totally metagelical. Okay, so this is going to start with a produced, sort of a set-ish. Sean's probably going to watch this vehicle and think, "What's this?" Vander Clay was in my comment section today, trolling the trolls, and now he's picking on my channel. Maybe I hope he doesn't give me a content strike. Anyway, let's see a little bit of this.
And not merely an option, but an obligation. Despite the claim that God is dead, is the supernatural rushing back into the world? And is the religious perspective by far more likely to be true than the alternative? According to our guest today, Ross Douthit, New York Times columnist. Wait.
Who's doing your YouTube schlepping? Hang on.
The world. And is the religious perspective by far more likely to be true than the alternative?
Now, I have been one who has been known to have typos, but I better check this, because my dyslexic brain sometimes, let's see, alternative. Alternative. It has an A there instead of an I, so somebody's YouTube surf has to use the spell checker. Let's continue.
According to our guest today, Ross Douthat, New York Times columnist and author of the new fascinating book, Believe, the answer to these questions is a resounding yes. Ross, before we start,
Okay, so absolutely no, the whole book shtick YouTube thing, yeah, I get it, and I do it sometimes too. I am going to have Spencer on, and we are going to talk about his book. I love his book. I usually just don't. I get sent books, and I ignore them. There's a book here that I ignore them until some of you people start talking about them, like put them in the comments, and then it's like, oh, did somebody send me that book? And then I'll look it up, and if I really like the book, then I might reach out and talk to the author. Spencer I'd already talked to, and I did an event with Spencer in Washington, D.C., and I really like Spencer, and I really like his book. I really like Spencer's book. Now, based on this, the whole book shtick thing worked because I'm really interested in Douthat's book, and I've read others of his books, and I've really liked his book. But again, in terms of the whole Metagelical thing here, we've got Biola, which is sort of Los Angeles, Southern California evangelical, which is a certain kind of evangelical. And of course, Shawn McDow is like second generation evangelical royalty. His father was writing these apologetic books, and now he teaches at the university, so he stayed in the family business. I can't complain. I'm third generation Christian Reformed minister, so my father and grandfather obviously weren't in the YouTube business, but here I am still in the minister business. But there's so much interesting crossovers here because, of course, the New York Times the Gray Lady is so blue church. And, well, mid-20th century blue church, you really got to bring in the Catholics. But, of course, Douthat and his story, his mom got into, if I remember his story correctly, his mom got into charismatic stuff. And Douthat is one of these guys that I really respect Douthat. But then his mom gets into sort of charismatic stuff, looking for healing, but then he goes Roman Catholic. And so Douthat was, I think, sort of an early migrator in this. If you go back to the video where I talked about, the video where I had Chuck Colson and Paul Kingsnorth on the thumbnail, because I think there really is sort of a thing going here where if you're sort of raised liturgical, then you kind of go charismatic. And if you're raised charismatic, a lot of people are going liturgical. And so people are switching back and forth. And of course, Lance was if I remember Lance's story correctly, he was Methodist, then he was doing the house church and charismatic, and now he's Orthodox. And so we're just sort of weaving this thing together. And it's not, ecumenism was all like elites and scholars and thinky-talky people trying to weave the church together by the thinky-talky. And what we're doing is we're sort of weaving it down here at the grassroots level here down below. And so you've got Ross Douthat, works for the Gray Lady, which is deeply blue church, but he's Roman Catholic, but he's conservative Catholic. And so Douthat's got lots of different credentials. He's sort of movement conservatism credentials. He's got traditional Roman Catholic credentials. He's got blue church credentials. So he's already really a crossover beast. I didn't read his book on Lyme's disease, but I would imagine he, like many others, once you get one of these diseases that the doctors really don't have a pill for, then suddenly you sort of light out into the territory into being your own doctor and figuring that kind of stuff up. And again, Shawn McDow, sort of evangelical elite status and more crossovers into, okay, we're going to talk about Jordan Peterson. And, I wouldn't be surprised to see, as I should do some searches here. Hang on. No, I don't see any Peugeot on Shawn's channel. How about Vervaeke? No John Vervaeke. So we'll see if the massive gravity of the TLC begins to draw little Shawn McDowell into our massive orbit. but he did the Matthew Vines things. That's the whole gay thing. Of course. Oh shoot, what's her? Alyssa Childers. Oh, he was on her channel. She's got evangelical Jesus movement royalty because she's the daughter of Chuck Girard, who was an important singer. So are they coming near the corner? Well, he did. No, that's no. I hate it when YouTube searches does that. People also watched. Be a search engine first, okay? It's like the YouTube Hippocratic Oath. Anyway, I digress. Let's watch this metagelicalism in action.
I was telling you that I really appreciate your column at the New York Times and your voice. And I heard about your book when you were doing kind of a talk about how the supernatural is coming back. And you cited the book by Rod Dreher, the book by Spencer Klavan.
Now, when I watched this and I noticed he mentioned Klavan, I thought, oh, he maybe got Klavan's from Douthit's, because Douthit, of course. And then Spencer was on. It's like, oh, so yeah, they're starting to pull him in. Now, I haven't really spent a lot of I haven't finished reading Rod's book. Rod sent me a preview copy. And like I said, I get lots of books. But Rod sent me a preview copy, and I like Rod. But I haven't really read it, partly because I didn't need that sermon because I was already there. And my view of this, I'm a little bit closer to Paul Kingsnorth on this, and that I don't really like the enchantment word or the re-enchantment word so much. I'll use it sometimes, but I don't think it's the best framing of it. So, but yeah, but of course, like I said, the kind of the mystical is the new personal relationship with Jesus, and evangelicals have long been able to cozy up to Pentecostals and charismatics.
You cited your own book as kind of this narrative that the supernatural is coming back into the world and the conversation about faith has changed. Now, given that I'm Protestant and you're Catholic, there's plenty of differences you and I could debate. I'm not interested in that conversation.
Very meta. I can't even say my own word. But that, don't let the word thing worry you. In time, it all gets worked out. It takes like 1,000 of us to work this thing through. And Lance is on board now. So, Metagelical.
I want to know about the book you wrote, why you wrote it, and your take on the questions that I cited. So thanks for coming on and have this conversation.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. And I'll put away the, bleeding statues of the Blessed Virgin Mary. I'll come back. I'll come back for those.
See, and this is exactly my point, that I talked about it with Larry Chapp. Me and Larry, we're down here. You got Shawn and Ross, they're up there. But that's just it. It doesn't mean that Ross Douthat isn't a good Catholic, and it doesn't mean that Shawn McDowell isn't a good, whatever Shawn McDowell is, evangelical. We'll just call him that. Whether, I don't know what church he goes to, non-denominational or what have you. So Shawn, if you want to do a Randos, let me know, and I'll do a Randos. And you don't even know what a Randos is, even despite the fact that the massive gravity of the TLC is pulling you into our orbit. So this is what I mean. And as the conversation goes, you can just see the weavings happening. The weavings are happening. And actually, religion in America has been so good at this. And so we're just watching this process, this thing progress. I should pause here for a better thumbnail. There, that'll be a better thumbnail. And Shawn McDowell being at the level that he's got, like, surfs and schleps and staffing and stuff. Look at his camera. Focus, man. I understand Douthit. Douthit's these are side shticks. So if if you see Dreer or Douthit or a lot of these authors, they're not doing videos all the time, but this is a big gig for McDowell. You know, clean up your act. I mean, look at the focus, look at the bouquet. I mean, if you're doing enough of this, get your act together. So when I checked YouTube this morning, I saw that Chad had a video, Friday Morning Nameless, and I loved the title, YouTube as the Gray City. And I thought, wow, yeah. Chad is just so good at, he's just so intuitive and creative at putting these things together. And then he sort of puts them together, and then he just kind of throws them out there. And then together we have to sort of figure out if this makes sense or not. But it's so helpful in a space like this. And, you know, and to me, a little bit later in this conversation, I'm just going to take about 15 minutes of it, and I'll talk now for a little bit, and then I'll drop it in, and then I'll finish this video. But we are sort of doing this intuitively. And Lance said something really good. Lance was riffing on some 12-step stuff. And again, 12-step stuff has been deeply tied to this little corner right from the start, of course, through Lance and Chad. But we're attracting and not promoting. And so when I look at a lot of other channels, they get promoting. Now, where Michael will go into this is Michael begins to notice, Michael for a while was going to do like a woodworking channel. And so he starts watching these woodworking channels and noticed that in time, as these channels grow, they take on a certain quality. It's almost like they're eating the witch's food. And it's sort of the rise and fall of these things, that they take on a certain quality and they become polished. And again, there's nothing wrong with polish. I remember when I started using better cameras and better mics, because I was hearing loud and clear that this sounds like crap and it looks like crap, and, you know, just do a little better. So, yeah, do a little better, but not highly produced. I do have my own typos, but I did spell alternative correctly, and I did notice their typo. But this is just such a space of experimentation. And then Michael starts talking, too, about this really annoying habit that we have that annoys some and doesn't annoy others. It fascinates me because we're years into this thing. And Chad, of course, is always looking for, are there other flotillas like us out there? And, of course, he found the Canadian welders. And, well, they're not exactly like us. What is it that we're doing? What's going on? And I think, you know, what is God doing with us? And what is God doing through us? And, you know, the analytics rise and fall, and the growth sort of surges and subsides. And I'm really okay with that, because I see those kinds of things in churches. If you're in a church a long time, you begin to notice that there are seasons. And God does different things in different seasons with the group. And so it's important to not get too anxious about the season. Now, you might not like a season, but don't get too anxious about it, because God does different things with different seasons. And just as seeing Lance come back, and that's great. And by the time you see this, I'm gonna release this on Monday, although I'll put it in no ads right after I make it tonight. So some of you will see it earlier. That's sort of the nature of a community. And again, we're just trying to get our minds around what kind of community is this? And I've been thinking about that again. And what are we doing? And that's why, you know, I'm playing around with sort of online estuary style conversations. Not that I'm going to abandon Randos conversations, but again, as we've talked about, they're different. And there are different seasons, and things change. And I know, especially those who are sort of temperamentally bent towards conservatism, and we got a lot of that around here, you know, they don't like change, and they want it to be the old way. And yeah, I get it. But they do change. And so, well, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll close out with Michael and Chad's observations about YouTube and the Gray City, and trying to figure out what gets popular and why, and what draws our attention. And there's always liturgy and dogma. Oh yeah, one of the points that Michael made, which I thought was outstanding, was he was noting that with the woodworking channels, very quickly dogmas emerged. And I've noticed this with photography channels and photo and camera channels and lens channels, because I like cameras and lenses and photography. And it's amazing. It's so interesting how liturgies emerge and dogmas emerge and the communities around them emerge. And of course, spirits are just hovering over all of this and working through it, and egregores are being developed. And that's why, the whole enchanted thing, not a great word, but the world is waking up to the fact that the language and conceptualization of spirit is an improvement over the abandonment of that linguistic territory in modernity. Now, that's going to lead some interesting places, but here we are. So I'm just going to drop the bit of Chad and Michael's conversation that I clipped, and then I'll just have a little bit of branding, and that'll be the end of the video. So, and after I make this, I'll drop it in No Wait, No Ads. So those of you who are new to the channel, there is a supporters membership section. And one of the things that I think I'm going to do next week, Friday morning live stream, will be estuary style from Bridges of Meaning people. You got to be a member of Bridges of Meaning and hopefully an active participant in Bridges of Meaning to do that. Maybe I'll sneak the link somewhere in Bridges of Meaning, and people will have to find it, and only the true BOM peeps will find it. I only need 5. And then I'm probably gonna last couple of times I used just some people that I knew, a lot of people that went to the estuary retreat in Connecticut and some other regulars. And I'm probably going to start dropping links in like membership sections. So, and then I'll probably have links out there on the open internet for randos as we go. But the point is to not just, I like hearing rando stories, and I'm not going to abandon that, but we've got enough of a community now with enough channels and enough things going, and enough of us have been on screen and talking, and we've got a little bit of knowing each other, that I think using the estuary protocol in some of these conversations can begin to deepen the relationships. One of the things that I discovered in Every Week Estuary here at Living Stones was, boy, I really love how the continued meeting is deepening the relationships. And maybe, I know doing estuary conversations on small channels won't necessarily get big views. But one of the beautiful things about our flotilla is that most of our small channels are comfortable with videos that don't necessarily perform great. And then once, if you have a channel that doesn't, if you have a video that doesn't perform, but there's good segments in it, clip them and do your own little clips. I mean, we've got so many of the, we've now developed so many of the liturgies here that it doesn't matter if we're not getting big views. Like Luke said this morning, when I turn things on, I can, there can be a big new video by Jordan Peterson, but I'm going to watch Chad, and I'm going to watch Luke, and, I'm going to go over and play with Grizz, and Christian Baxter's doing a great job, and I'll watch Sam's conversations, except for the ones where he's always promoting Unitarianism. I should pass that. Sorry, Sam. Just, I'm much more interested in the other parts of your project instead of the Unitarian thing. But I'm not trying to discourage you. Keep at it. I've learned a lot about the Trinity and all of that from you. So anyway, just feeling very grateful for what God has done and given me. And so, yeah, this is 15 minutes from Chad and Michael, and then a little bit of branding.
Christian Baxter and he put the conversation we had like a couple weeks ago or whatever. And, I talked about like how I wanted to start a woodworking YouTube like years ago, but then it was just like pushes the cream to the top or whatever. And you're just realize, these guys have like, not only do they have like amazing workshops and tools, but like they also have the video stuff, and the setups and the editing, and that was like a polished product. That my initial thing was like, I'm not going to try anything because, but. But obviously, like the fun, because I didn't even want, like, I guess you could say it because like you start a YouTube channel because you want to make something, or you want to have like a following, and like that was like what I really was kind of interested in, was I want to meet the other people that are excited about this, but it seemed like you had to build the platform, do it, and then it just seemed like impossible to do it. That was just because of the way that it always pushes those big things. Like I think it's like those big attention magnets, like the algorithm. So it pushes those salient things because if YouTube is more interested in you looking than creating, if it's not going to be a big thing.
Well, that would be my question about that would be then, like, what's your goal? What would your goal be to start let's just say a woodworking channel? Is it to enjoy the art, the creativity, creative space to make woodworks, or is it to garner views? And if it's to garner views, then we should just end this stream now and never do it again.
No, well, the real thing was that what I really envied was the freedom to I just wanted the job of like every week I get to make whatever the heck I want, and I would get annoyed because sometimes, because the people that gets big, you can see how their channels would like change, because then they were basically a slave to the algorithm. They had to putting something out like every week or something, and so then they would have these projects that it was like picking the project was the least important part of the project, because it turned into a creation business, which just needed some woodworking project in order to use a video. So that was like, well, that's lame. That's when the channel starts to be sucky. But like most of them were really, the big ones were all like really good when they started out, because it was something like creative for the sake of doing it. And so like, I mean, that was all I did. Like, that's the thing. It's like if I won the lottery, I would just go build and like sell it for not very much money or whatever, just so that I could stuff, like just for fun. But yeah, and actually, part of the reason why I my own channel is because I actually got a little bit frustrated with like like when Paul talks about Christian youth, it's always just about like trying to protect people from like, for whatever. It's just like this weird discernment, like, whoa, like you should avoid these authors, or why you should not watch these videos, and stuff like that. Actually, the same exact thing in woodworking, because there's all these like, I mean, in your line of work, like there's like the normal, like proper way that you're things, and then like people would just basically almost like uphold the dogmas of woodworking, but then every once in a while somebody would like do something outside the box, and then people be like, oh, you can't do that or whatever, and like so many dumb things. Like people will do make these videos where they're just like testing like different or something, like to see like which glue, like they'll glue two boards together and then like make a little machine that like will break them, and they measure like the weight, and it's like you gotta find out like which glue is the strongest when the weakest glue is still perfectly like actually using the thing, like making a piece of furniture stay together. And it's just like all this weird stuff where it's like, why, like I don't know, like what I want to do. Like I thought there could be way cooler stuff that you could make videos of, like things that excite people, but it was like a high barrier to entry because you have to have the setup and the angles and the you have to do everything like 3 times for the camera. So that was kind of the reason why I didn't get into it. But I don't know. So I feel like these patterns of like the way that these videos are and like which ones are generic, like fodder for the algorithm, is probably a pattern present in like every topic across all these videos.
Well, I mean, like there's this best hydraulic press compilation, satisfying crushes. Now, I admit, I have watched many of these. Why have I watched them?
Yes.
I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense.
To put yourself into a vegetative state.
It's ridiculous. And look at these. 59 million views. 1.6 million views. 900,000 views. 10 million subscribers to the hydraulic press channel. It's fucking ridiculous. And why?
Yep.
This is.
You want to find out what happened?
Yeah, this is the nature of kind of what I'm talking about. Well, even these things. The wood turning videos.
I mean, oh yeah, I like those too.
2 days ago, 13,000 views. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's funny because like thinking about like those hydraulic smash things and stuff. Like my kids are pretty young, and they like to draw and stuff like that. But like whenever they're playing with like markers and crayons and like Play-Doh or other stuff like that, it's like they always want to like break it and like figure out the like limits of what you can do with these things. Like that's the like play. This drives my wife nuts because they want to see like this. I know the marker paper, but what else will the marker work on? And so we just keep telling them that it works on only paper. But like I know because I did the exact same thing when I was a kid. Like they're just wanting to. What will happen if I stick this on this other thing? And like I think when you watch like those hydraulic press videos, it's like the would have an itch that we don't have the freedom to like play with, so like adults,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's just a little bit.
It's yeah. So yeah, this just has me thinking about the whatever this is. It's kind of annoying. And then I think that's why, like, when there's ridiculous, contentious spats in like the community setting, it's so annoying because It's like we have like, I don't know, something. It's delicate. I think whatever it is we're playing with here, it's delicate. You can't just like up and start another thing like this.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't work that way. If that were the case, there'd be hundreds. Excuse me. Maybe there are. Excuse me. Hundreds of thousands of you know, little corners, but it doesn't seem like there is. I know there are some things like it.
Yeah.
Let's see. We can do this. Present. Go back. Share screen. Share screen. Wood turning. Share. Let's go to live stream community chat. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. 20 hours ago, almost 400 views on a live stream police dispatch scanner in Tucson, Arizona. Well, apparently that. Yeah.
The bad part of it is, Chad.
Yeah.
As much as it annoys everybody, you know, when we have those, when we're having the conversation about like, what is this space? You know, the conversation about or whatever, and like everybody gets annoyed when they're like, "What is the TLC? Where is it going?" Like, I think like that is a necessary topic for having the quality of like nations that we do have. Like, because you couldn't do it about like, because everything has something, you know. So like you can have a woodwork community, but you know it's gonna get like moderated if you try to talk things. And the only like thing that you can keep a community together topic wise while allowing you to discuss whatever you want is like community itself, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I never really got bothered by the whole. I never got bothered by the whole.
A lot of people get bothered by that.
Yeah.
To me,
I think it's like yeah. For me, it's a function of like fairy tales in real time because it's always different. There's not like at least as it relates to this particular corner of the internet. There's always a different answer, so it gives it this quality of like fairy tale almost, and so it's never set in stone, and it's kind of expanding.
Yeah.
This song is called Asynchronous Ontology for Dummies. Circles.
But I'm trying
Round it up.
To
go
learn the song.
There is no try, there's only do.
Well, I don't know about the meaning crisis, left, right, black, white, or other vices, which Jesus Christ is right, or if we're all saved. From my perspective, a proposition, participate procedurally, run in circles, remembering body. We're in the age of decay. Symbolically speaking, the reapers are reaping, Them damn agriculture. Oh boy. Holy cannoli. All right. We're getting there.
You wrote the song, sir. Please, sir.
I wonder if, from my perspective, the proposition, participate procedurally, running in circles, remembering body. We're in the age of decay. Symbolically speaking, the reapers are reaping. Oh, shish kebab.
Shish kebab.
You know, tips of my fingers. They go. Not this one. Kind of go. Kind of numb.
Here we go.
I don't know about the meaning crisis, left, right, black, white, or other vices, which Jesus Christ is right, whatever I'll say. From my perspective, proposition, procedurally running, participate procedurally, running the circle, remember everybody, we're in the age of decay. Symbolically speaking, the reapers are reaping. And agricultures are whispering sweetly. We're all in pursuit in the valley of the bee. Red pill, blue pill, red pill, Mars Hill, BMC. We're red and peel, got one and number two. We're all the same damn thing. So clean your room, repent on sin. Ontology of dummies, the bird's eye view. If you really knew, could you really say? Rabbit. Oh. Yeah. All right. I think I should be done with that because my fingers are
All my
being
fingers and
bitches.
toes.
Straight up bitches.